How often do you use English? How often do you carry out English conversations? Whether you realize it or not, there are numerous ways to engage native speakers and those who speak English fluently these days if you are proactive and seek out opportunities to speak English actively. In comparison to the time that I studied English. Hi, I'm Dr. John Park, the author of Daring to Speak, 22 Ideas to Improve Your Ability to Speak English. In this video, I talk about how you can improve your ability to speak English by finding a speaking partner. In the first part of the video, I show a conversation that I carry out between my son and I. And then in the second part of the video, I come back and share my experience of how I actively sought out opportunities to improve my ability to speak English. So, first things first, let's go to the conversation now. Hey Moses, what are you doing?
Nothing much. I was just on my phone. What's up?
So you're not really doing much right now, but what are your plans for the summer?
Honestly, I don't have anything planned.
What do you mean you don't have anything planned? You have a job coming out.
Oh, that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so someone contacted me
Uh-huh.
asking me to help them out with basically they want me to kind of mentor a missionary kid that came from abroad.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they'll be going to a local school. So
Here in the States or?
yeah, here in the States.
Okay.
So their English probably isn't that great,
Mm-hmm.
and they might have some trouble, conversing with other students. So I'll be doing my best to kind of just teach them, how to talk to them, and maybe try to give them some pointers on American culture so that they have some things to relate to those students with.
Oh.
But do you have any plans for your summer?
Yeah, well, for me, I don't really have a summer break per se because I teach a class during summer as well.
Okay.
So in my school, I have 3 different programs that I run, and the 2 programs are 2 semester based, and there's one program in which I have to teach. Well, actually, there are 3 trimesters. And right now, this is the second trimester, which is called Easter trimester.
Okay.
So I'm currently teaching a class. And also, I've been working from home since because of the pandemic. And so I don't really get to go to the school. So I have to stay at home and teach from home, work from home. And also, sometimes I have a lot of Zoom meetings with the students and faculty. Yeah, those are some of the things that I do.
As soon as I wake up, I hear your voice.
Yeah, because at 8:30 I lead a daily prayer meeting for my school.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have good number of regulars.
Pretty good reason why then.
Yeah. So going back to the job that you'll be doing pretty soon, can you share with me what you will be doing exactly? I know you mentioned that you'll be teaching the student the American culture and how he or she could get adjusted well in the United States.
So the person who scouted me explained that the person before me, what they did, their method of kind of getting the student to warm up to them was basically they looked for a common ground for that student to they wanted something like a point of interest that the student had that they could kind of expand upon, and then try to get to know them from there to really teach them effectively. So for that student, they really liked BTS. So the instructor did a lot of research and tried to relate with them about that, and then go from there. But in terms of what I'm actually doing, I think I'm gonna try to look online for different texts about what exactly the dynamics of conversation are. For a middle school or a high schooler, conversation is not this formal thing that you really have to practice, but you should still kind of have a good sense of what's normal to say versus something that might be inappropriate here to say, something that might weird them out. I think it's good to express your individuality, but it's also good to not alienate them.
Right. So in other words, any individual needs to be authentic in carrying out a conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and since this video is about, conversational English, or the title of this video is going to be Find a Speaking Partner, do you happen to have some tips for any non-native speakers of English who want to improve their conversational English?
I think I'm not exactly sure about how conversation is in Asian countries, but something that's very important in America, at least, is maintain eye contact.
Right.
Even though that's not a verbal part of communication, it's often stated that the nonverbal parts are maybe even more important than what you say. So maintaining eye contact to express to them that you're listening to what they're saying, you're respecting what they have to say. I think that's important, and I also think that it's hard to really explain it. It can be a bit murky, but like making gestures. I mean, I've had my hands on my phone the whole time, but like gesticulating while you speak things can kind of help them to like more understand and like visualize what you have to say. So don't be afraid to move your hands to try to better convey what you have to say.
Right. I think the point about maintaining eye contact, I think, is very important, especially for people who come from Asian context, like even like South Korea. When you're carrying out a conversation, you don't really maintain eye contact. They sometimes the person who gets looked at might feel like it's disrespectful, or might feel like they're being stared at because they're not used to it. But here in the United States, you have to maintain good eye contact when you are conversing with someone. I think that's a great point.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for appearing in this video. And is there something else that you want to say last to my audience?
I hope your audience is learning a lot from this series. I'd say I learned a lot from you in terms of how to speak. And I hope they enjoyed it.
All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
I think I was a little weird, eccentric, and peculiar when I first started studying English. When I say weird, eccentric, peculiar, what I mean is that I was focused, passionate, and conspicuous, to use more positive words. Because I wanted to improve my English, I tried various methods to ensure that I had regular exposure to an English-speaking environment. So I did everything that I could in order to improve my English, and in that regard, I think I stood out. Even though I was a member for only 1 year, Busan Student Interpreters Association, PSIA, gave me the early exposure to all aspects of English, including speaking. The club showcased to me what I needed to do in order to acquire a good command of the English language, and I'm very grateful for that. When I was in college, Sang-hoon, who had spent 5 years, his formative years in Canada, also helped me quite a lot because he and I spent countless hours speaking in English. I did everything I could in order to seek out every opportunity to improve my English. And that included reaching out to my university English conversation professors. I took them out to lunch or dinner in order to converse with them. And not only conversing with them, I also had a chance to get to know them, building good relationships with them as well. I can't talk about finding a speaking partner without mentioning my stint in the 8th United States Army. When I heard about the KTUSA program, KTUSA is short for Korean Augmentation to United States Army, I set my mind on joining the program. So I devoted myself to studying the subjects on which I would get tested, and I passed the examination. I was so elated when I found out about the results, and I decided to continue to better my English. The 8th United States Army stationed in South Korea was a good environment in which I could experience a microcosm of the United States and have exposure to English. Simply being in the 8th United States Army without taking initiatives or being proactive, however, does not guarantee getting better at English. If one does not create an environment in which he or she engages English-speaking people, watch English news or programs, listen to English songs or news, reading English materials, one's English will improve only minimally. Therefore, intentionality really matters regardless of where one lives. Living in a country where English is the primary language will be great, but not everyone can do it. Thus, intentionality really counts because you have to surround yourself with English-speaking people and continue to engage English materials with intentionality. Even after I came to the United States, I continued to have a teachable attitude while actively seeking out every opportunity to speak English. I share this experience of mine in order to make the case that without taking initiatives, without being proactive, without actively seeking every opportunity to speak English, your English will rarely get better. When you carry out a conversation in English, the topics can vary based on the relationship that you have with your speaking partner. Although the topics of religion, politics, and money tend to be avoided, you can still talk about them as long as you are not pushy or trying to make the other person agree with you. There are things that you shouldn't ask when you carry out a conversation, such as how much one makes, how old a lady is, or how much one paid for one of his or her possessions. Those are things that belong to the realm of personal choice and personal privacy. And this personal choice and personal privacy are very important to English-speaking people, including Americans. I hope you really liked my video, and if you liked my video, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. I hope that you will be able to find a speaking partner and engage native speakers or English-speaking people so that you can continue to improve your English. I hope that you will be able to take initiatives, be proactive, and actively seek out every opportunity to improve your English. In my next video, I'll talk about how you can improve your ability to speak English by giving public speeches. Until then, stay safe and keep daring to speak.